So everyone thinks a bull run is going to happen within 2023. And I beg to differ because during those meetings where the financial bankers, the big institutions like Jerome Powell and the other big financial institutions from Chase and Charles Schwab all got together and have this conference, they talk about interest rates. That is the most breaking point within these past few years. And of course, interest rates used to be really boring, but interest rates are now interesting because there's a chance, as I made in previous videos, for a lot of people to become really wealthy. And it's getting to that point where it's make or break situation. Do you have the cash and investments ready at hand? So first, we're going to look at what the announcement is. And within the next week or so, they're going to have their next report, whether or not they're going to raise interest rates or not. Because Jerome Powell has stated they're going to raise interest rates 2 more times within this year. And they stated that inflation itself, the non-core inflation, just inflation in general, just not the core PCE, just the PCE, going down to 3%. That is really good. So that's basically you're looking at food and electricity because, eggs and food, that's like the driving force. Like electricity used to be not a necessity, but now it became a necessity. Everyone cannot live without it. For example, you guys watching this video, you should be clicking the subscribe button down below so the electricity bill can be paid. But out of all jokes, is food and electricity are now the 2 core ones within that group. So when they go down, it drags all the other numbers down. So think about this statistically. You add every single group of category together. If one category does really well, it'll make it look like the other categories are doing better. In which in reality, in this case, you want to look at the core PCE inflation, not just the PCE. The PCE is everything else, and the one with the word core is the one you're adding in just food and electricity. So you cut those two out, you're looking at around 4.8%. So besides food and electricity going down, which is really great, it's down to 3%. They're about to hit their target goal earlier than expected. But the core PCE inflation is still at 4.8%, 4.7, 4.8%. That's still pretty high. And that's going to take some time. So they're going to raise interest rates 2 more times. And during that time, of course, the market, it's going to be, they're really happy that the news came out. So basically today, or the making of this video, certain stocks went up. For example, the tech stocks. The tech stocks are the ones that get inflated the most because when news articles come out like this, they're the first ones to rise apparently. But based in the case that they stated that it's going to take until some time because they said by 2023, that's the time they're planning to decrease interest rates. They're not going to drop it all the way down to like 2%. So the people looking to buy a home or people are looking to buy a car, this is not really the right time yet. And if you can make that decision, the wait is unfortunate, not the best financial decision. It is an emotional decision, but hey, it's a financial game. They don't care. The world will continue spinning whether or not it works in your favor or not. It's whether or not you take advantage of the situation itself, meaning click the subscribe button down below. But in that case, when they start decreasing interest rates, because they might do a pause or they might raise it. A lot of people say that this coming month, within the next week of posting this video, they're going to raise interest rates, which I'm not surprising because right now the target is core PCE. That's every single category. As I mentioned in my previous videos, that's not food and electricity because those are still really high, which makes sense. You go out to eat in restaurants, yeah, those are still part of the food category, but that they still have to pay their waiters and utensils and utilities and everything else. So all of those is still pretty high. And they're talking about something about wages. And of course, it's a really touchy topic, meaning they publicly stated that they want to kill the job market, which makes sense because if you have more people making a lot more money, you start buying more products and goods and services. And I mentioned before is the government could do something about it besides raising interest rates, for example, increase productivity. If you think about it, this is pretty interesting. A lot of people don't mention it because if they mention it and you know how to solve this problem, they don't like it because the people in the upper level would not make as much money if they keep this inflation going, this recession going, because the people on the top, not the people in millions, the people who are billionaires, those are the ones who make the most money. Because in this type of market, those are people who win the most. And if it brings it down, the economy becomes more stable, they won't win as much, meaning people down here below starts making more money and people on top won't make as much. It's unfortunately that's the game. But if you want to look at a more strategic sense, you look at the definition of supply and demand. For example, why are house prices are still not dropping like no other tomorrow? Because simple, the buyer side got suppressed due to interest rates, but the seller side at the same time still got suppressed by the interest rates. Interest rates are suppressing technically both sides. And the only way to make one go up or down the other is to have more than the other, like way more. For example, if supply became way more in housing, then houses will decrease because people are trying to sell their home. People don't sell their homes for no reason. They sell their homes for an objective. So when they do that, put it up in the market, that is where they start competing with each other. The same goes for food prices. Food prices could be a lot more cheaper. For example, you look at boba milk tea. Boba milk tea in the United States, if you look at over a decade ago, you're looking at between $1 to $2, even $3 back then. Over 10 years ago, it's considered very expensive. Now, it's like mandatory to spend at least like $5 or more for a drink or powder in there, which is pretty crazy. This applies for all food prices. Even food prices going down, personally, I don't think it's ever going to see that level until there's enough productivity, meaning enough food is being produced to the point it forces all prices to go down, which honestly they don't want to do it, because if food prices go down, those people working in those farmers and fields don't make as much, then they'll negate the point of them increasing productivity, because productivity is not just one category, it has to be all categories. So when they decrease their interest rates by the end of 2023, that I believe that's when the bull run will begin to start, because during that time is when a lot of people finally think the economy is going to recover, because right now they're still monitoring the situation. It's going on the right trend, but it's not perfect, because the core PCE inflation is still 4.8%. They want to bring that down to the point where it starts to match the normal inflation, basically the non-core PCE inflation. Once they match around that point, which is around the 2%, then it's all good. But personally, for example, clothing, vehicles, expenses, yes, they're going down in price, but it's not going down to the point of pre-pandemic levels, meaning during pre-pandemic levels, I don't ever see it's going to match that. If it ever does match that, then it'll be really great personally, because that means all the prices are going down, and hopefully a lot of jobs are still being offered. Because right now there's a conflict of interest. If there's more jobs being offered, which is right now, it's really hurting against them trying to fight inflation, because unfortunately people do not invest in themselves. They take their money, once they get their paycheck, they don't watch this video, they go and buy everything they possibly can. They're looking for that new camera, they go and buy it. Even there's only 100 in stock and there's 1,000 people in line, they'll submit their order and wait in line. And of course, if they submit the order and wait in line, the company's job is to produce that product and sell it to them at a higher cost. So if you have 1,000 people buying this one product, you only have 100 slots right there, and they cannot make any more until the next quarter. Then of course, what they're gonna do? Find a person who's willing to pay the most amount. Definition of supply and demand. So if food prices going down, energy prices going down, which is unfortunately still not enough, then you have to bring the other industries down too. Make them compete against each other. For example, producing more vehicles. If you're producing more vehicles, for example, right now the whole entire industry is targeting EVs, then you want to bring the prices down that have more vehicles. Make the production costs cheaper. Make the products you use and services cheaper. Unfortunately, that's not as easy as it seems. But if you look at the clothing industry, same applies to that. You look at the chip industry, same thing applies. That's why we don't want to have a monopoly in any type of products. For example, AMD and Intel and NVIDIA. Those three are the main three monopolies. Unfortunately, there's no other really contenders out there to bring those prices down. And this is basically, if you look at the economy, it's a whole entire puzzle piece that works integrated together. You cannot have one without the other. Now, how does it relate to you making a lot of money during the next bull run? Is you want to look at the interest rates. And when the interest rates start to change and starting to dip, because right now they're going to have multiple months of pause and you have 2 more raises. And of course, during the time it starts decreasing, that's where people are going to become really interested. They know the market's going down, so a lot of people are going to start buying in. So those around will be the times for you to start to make your investments. And right now, it's time for you, if you have any credit card debt, and I made it in previous videos, try to pay all those off first, because credit card debts can balloon, and any interest you owe, it's way more than normal loan interest. Loan interest, you're looking at back then between almost free down to 6 to 7%, maybe 8%, but credit card interest can balloon up to 20%. And sometimes it can be even more, which is crazy. And right now, the whole point is looking at how much money you can make and versus how much power you get from spending. For example, $1 back then could buy a lot of things. $1 now can't buy you anything. So this only really applies how you look at wealth and money. And if you want to become wealthy, it's best you guys click the subscribe button down below, and always keep investing in yourselves. Have a good day. See you guys next time.